Our final rumor, this is the big one, y'all. Our final rumor for this episode is one that's going to break my stinking little heart. Hello, nerds. We have a stupid long episode today, so we're just going to jump right into it. Don't forget to click the thumbs up. Let me know you like what's going on here on the channel, because that is super free, and that is honestly the best way to get YouTube to remind you that new episodes are posted, because the algorithm is broken. But that's a different video. Thank you for joining me. Let's hit the intro. Housekeeping for the episode is as follows. Just doing the push again. Follow me on the socials. Generally nerdy on most things. Generally _nerdy on Twitter. Just look for the nerdy ninja. Sorry, words are a thing for me today apparently. Just look for the nerdy ninja, and that is where you will find me. The other half of housekeeping is, as per usual, shoutouts. So shoutouts for today are on Getter. We have Apollo, Miskatonic, and the Messy Rabbi, aka Rabbi Jason Durham. Thank you for following, nerds. On TikTok, we have Jacob McCurdy 735, Art the Clown 14 backup. Art, I know you personally, so rock and roll. Thanks for the follow. C6969 ad nauseum, Nightingale _Jake. Thank you all for following on the TikTok. And on Instagram, we have Greg Arby and Chris Cortex. Thank you, nerds, for joining the show. That is all of the housekeeping and shout-outs and all of the things. So here we go, jumping into the episode. Starting in music. This is a giant episode. I don't know how many times I've said that already, but I'm saying it right now. In music, we have a couple of follow-ups, first of which being the Metallica Podcast. That's the official name of it. Remember, Metallica Podcast Volume 1. The first two episodes have now officially gone live, and you can, once again, listen to those over on Amazon Prime. There is a lot of quality stuff in there, so they definitely deserve a listen. And then our other follow-up for music is Limp Bizkit. If you remember last time we spoke about Limp Bizkit, they had just canceled all of the remaining shows for the year, which honestly wasn't a whole lot, but was significant enough. I'm sure the folks over in Spirit Box were not super excited about not getting to go out on tour with one of the biggest bands in the world, but it is what it is. So shortly thereafter, via the band's official Instagram page, we got word that new songs were going to be leaking, quote unquote, very soon. What that means, only time will tell, apparently, because we kind of sort of have got the first leak already. And then also they made it known that the new record, which will very likely, according to Wes Borland, not be called Stampede of the Disco Elephants, is supposedly going to release sometime in the next year or so, if you know, the implications are being read correctly. So that is what we have for follow-ups. Let's get into new music videos and new music. We have a new piece from Emigrate. If you don't remember, this is Richard Crusp's other band, Richard Z. Crusp from Rammstein. He's one of the guitar players. He has another band called Emigrate. They just put out a new record, or a new video and a new song called Freeze My Mind. This is their first new music in approximately 3 years. It will be from their forthcoming new album, which is expected by the end of this year, but does not have a release date or a title. So we're moving on. Our next new piece of music has to do with, it's actually a new music video. It's not new music. It's a new Dragonforce music video. This is for the song Troopers of the Stars. It comes from their last record, Extreme Power Metal, with this new vocalist, who I'm not a huge fan of, but still a lot of fun to see the dudes in Dragonforce put out a new video, because they just have too much fun doing what they do. But they also have announced some other things, which we will get to in the tour section, which is right now. So So let's talk tours. We only have that one piece of tour information, and that is Dragonforce is going out in 2022 across Europe. So if you are European based, then this is for you. They will be starting November 11th in Berlin, Germany, and go all the way through December 4th in Antwerp, Belgium. If you want to get tickets, then you can find them in the link down in the description. Our one piece of news for music has also to do with Rammstein, though it's not any of the guitar players. It has to do specifically with Till Lindeman, who is the vocalist for Rammstein. He has just been arrested. He and his manager have both been arrested in Russia, though it sounds like Till might have been released and his manager not so much. They're arrested on a number of things that have to do with basically them trying to fool the Russian government, according to the Russian government. So take that with a grain of salt. But it seems that they were there for a show. They also are being accused of trying to do an illegal show before the actual show they were there for. The manager is being accused of lying to authorities as to why he was in the country. Till is being accused of trying to sell illegal NFTs because he did a new solo music video for a solo project that he's doing, and it contained imagery from a state-owned museum that he doesn't have the rights for. It's just, you know what? Let's try something new real quick here. Let's get up real close. All right, so this just sounds like the Russian government not being super happy with German musicians being in their country. Honestly, when have we ever really trust the Russian government with anything? And now we're going to trust that they're telling us the truth as to why they've arrested one of the largest rock stars in the world? It seems a little fishy to me. Yeah, okay, let's get back to the regular show. All right, that is all we have for the music section, though. So jumping headfirst into gaming and tech, we have a bunch of follow-ups. Let's start in the follow-up section with Pokemon Go. Remember last time we talked about this, Niantic, the company that is producing the game Pokemon Go, was talking about scaling some of that and had actually scaled a bunch of things back that they had rolled out during pandemic season. Well, that did not get met very well from fans, and now we are here for the update. It seems that Niantic is in fact going to reinstate the 80-meter interact distance with Pokestops and gyms in the very least, though, I mean, I'm sure that's going to bleed out a little bit more, but it sounds like this is about as much give as Niantic is going to be giving fans. Next, we're talking once more about Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. We now have an official release date, February 18th of 2022. Pre-orders go live tomorrow as you're watching this, 2 days out as I'm filming. So if you are a PlayStation 5 owner, actually no, PlayStation 4 or 5, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that because I didn't do that research. But we do know when it's coming, and we're moving on. Next, let's talk one more time about Splitgate. Splitgate has officially rolled out Season 0, the more advanced stage of the beta, and they have apparently fixed a bunch of the issues that they were having previously, so thank the gods, because it is so much fun to play. Still no official word on when the beta phase is going to end, so keep that in mind. But there is word from the powers that be, the people behind the scenes that are doing the stuff, that are making it work, that they are not only working on new maps, new weapons, and new gear, but they are also working on a new map editor. We will be definitely keeping tabs on this one. Then let's talk ever so briefly about a game I'm not sure we've talked about before on the show, but I think we might have, so that's why it's in follow-ups. The game from Nintendo that they are reportedly trying to dethrone Smash Brothers, Nintendo All-Stars Brawl, has just announced 2 new playable characters, those being the likes of CatDog and April O'Neil. This just keeps getting more and more interesting. It might actually dethrone Smash Brothers. Speaking of April O'Neil, our final follow-up for this section has to do with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, the retro-styled arcade brawler, whatever you want to call it, old-school-looking Nintendo, or old-school-looking Ninja Turtles game that, is very much in the vein of that old arcade that then got ported, and then there were a couple of Super Nintendo games that has also just announced that April O'Neil will be joining the cast as a playable character, and I don't know which one I'm more excited about, this one or the Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl. Both of these sound awesome. Now let's roll over to trailers for the gaming section. Our first trailer is another Metroid Prime Dread trailer. We get to see a little bit more of the additional weapons that Samus is going to be able to use in this game. There is a lot of stuff from the previous trailer, but there's a lot of gold in that new bits too, and whoo, chomping at the bit for this one as well. Our next trailer has to do with Marvel's Midnight Suns. This one is a little interesting because I was expecting something different. What it is actually going to be is a turn-based RPG from the likes of Marvel in co-production with Firaxis, who is a sub-developer for XCOM. They have created the new protagonist character who you will be playing as, and then your team will be made up of the characters from the comic books that have to do with this Midnight Suns group. If you want a better breakdown of who the Midnight Suns are, just put it in the YouTube search because I don't have that kind of time. We've got to roll on. Our final new trailer also comes with a new release date for Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is now officially coming out on December 8th, and we have a couple of trailers that have come from the Gamescom convention over the last weekend, so that is all kinds of awesome. Then we have two pieces of news. Our first piece is the announcement of a new Lego Star Wars game, not the Skywalker Saga, which I do believe we talked about previously when it was originally announced. This is another new one that is going to be exclusive to the Apple Arcade. This is going to be Lego Star Wars Battles. It is going to be an RTS based in the Star Wars universe. It looks like it's going to take place in the entire Skywalker Saga era. You'll be able to access most, if not all, of those characters from all three trilogies, but it's not going to be super in-depth. It's just going to be a lot of fun because it's a mobile game, so I mean, yeah, whatever. Moving right along, our other piece of news has to do with Overwatch. Now, I've been kind of staying away from the Activision Blizzard scandal, but I feel like it's time we broach this just slightly. So, if you don't know by now what is going on over at Activision Blizzard, we're not going to cover that in any kind of detail. That has been done ad nauseum by every other nerdy news channel on the internet. So if you don't know, you have all of the resources necessary available to you to get into the gory details, and it gets a little sticky, and I only kind of mean that figuratively. So the first bit of fallout from the Activision Blizzard issue is going to be happening in Overwatch. I mean, there have been other things that are also happening, but this is the first one that is probably going to actually take place. Plenty of people have been fired, plenty of people have quit at this point, and now they're going to be changing the name of one of the characters in Overwatch. McCree, who is named after a developer, somebody who was active on making the game, who has since quit, I believe. I'm pretty sure he did not get fired, though it's kind of a situation of, you better quit before we fire you, I believe. Other things are going on other Activision Blizzard games, like World of Warcraft. There's an issue with character naming over there. This is going so deep that they have changed their policy in naming characters so that they are not named after employees from this point forward. So that's how deep this goes, that they're even affecting their games. Okay, so let's get a little reasonable real quick. The reasonable thing to do here, because there is potential that even if 10% of what is being alleged against a lot of people in the company at Activision Blizzard, even if the smallest fraction of what is being alleged is true, then it's pretty heinous. So the possibility exists that this guy, Jesse McCree, or whatever his actual name is, very potentially has somebody he victimized that still works for Activision Blizzard. So every time that person has to do something with this character, they're reminded of it. Again, I understand people are soft. It is definitely, that complaint is not lost on me, but have a little heart, because it's just a digital character. Who cares what his name is? Let's just play the game, shall we? No word yet as to what Activision Blizzard is going to rename the character to, but once they announce it, I'm sure we will talk about it ever so briefly, or we will talk about it over on the socials. So if you're not following me there, then you probably should find me on whichever social media platform you prefer, and we can have that conversation when it happens. That, though, is all we have for gaming and tech. Comic books and books is the only section that we really don't have a whole lot for. We do have the announcement of a new comic book from Titan Comics that is going to be actually a number of things that have to do with the new Netflix Cowboy Bebop live action series. We have a novelization that is going to be a prequel to the live action series. We have a tie-in comic that is going to take place sometime roughly around the same time as the Netflix series. And we also have a behind-the-scenes book, all coming from Titan Comics. So the prequel novel, the novel being a pretty loose term here, is going to be called Cowboy Bebop, A Syndicate Story, Red Planet Requiem, written by Sean Cummins, who is a staff writer for the series, for the live-action series. It will be available in November, and it'll be about $15, and it's going to be about 330 pages, so not a rough read. The tie-in comic for this is going to be called Cowboy Bebop, the comic series. Wow, super original there, guys. Written by Dan Waters and will feature artwork from Lamar Mathurin. And then the behind the scenes is just Cowboy Bebop behind the scenes, and that I didn't write down the release date for because I don't think anybody's going to buy it. December of 2021 is when the first issue of the comic book is going to release, and then the trade will be collected in 2022, May of 2022. So that is what we have for comic books and books. TV streaming, let's go head first into this one more time. We have follow-ups, first of which being Batwoman. They have officially cast their Pamela Isley, aka Poison Ivy, aka Bridget Regan is going to be the actress who plays that character. I really hope they can pull this off. I feel like they will do a lot better than they did on Gotham, but that's a whole other video. Let's continue on. Our next follow-up piece has to do with Interview with the Vampire over on AMC. They have just officially announced their casting for Lewis. The actor who's going to play Lewis is Jacob Anderson. You might recognize that name because he was in Game of Thrones. The character he played in Game of Thrones, you might ask, was Grey Worm. Lewis is going to be played by the same guy who played Grey Worm. Right, okay. That's a whole breakdown of issues that we're just gonna scoot on by, shall we? All right, so we are moving next into trailers. We have one trailer for TV streaming, and that is The First Mayor of Kingstown. This is the tie-in with Yellowstone, that series that's over on Paramount and Paramount Plus. It is going to be exclusively to Paramount Plus. Jeremy Renner is the lead. It looks like it's going to be pretty good, just like the show that it's coming from or related to, or however the freak you want to say those words. Anyway, that is the one trailer we have. And then we have a new piece in the TV streaming area, and that is Bel Air is a new series that is going to be coming that is based on a dark and gritty viral trailer that came out a few months back based on the comedy series from the 90s starring Will Smith called The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Well, they have just now announced that this is going to be a thing. I know Will Smith said that he wanted to make it a thing, but just because Will wants it doesn't always mean Will gets what Will wants. But they have just announced that they have found their young Will. It is going to be a kid named Jabari Banks, which, yes, you heard that right. His actual last name is Banks. Pretty interesting there. Sounds like the kid is a very talented actor and honestly rapper and musician and so on and so forth. So very interested to see how this gritty reboot actually happens. And that is what we have for TV streaming, nerds. going into the movie section, we don't have any follow-ups or corrections. So yay, halfway kind of. We do have a trailer. The new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer launched. I know you've probably already seen it because it launched during the week where I wasn't really doing a whole lot. So everybody has watched it at this point. So I'm not really breaking the news here, but let's get a little aside, a little reasonable real quick. So we know a couple of things about the way trailers work. We know that they cut trailers in a way to make you think certain things. They make it look like Alfred Molina is talking to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I don't think that's the case. I know everybody has already said that Matt Murdock is in the trailer, you just don't see his face. Totally on board with that, but my hot take is when Alfred Molina's Doc Ock jumps down and says, "Hello, Peter," he's not actually talking to Tom Holland. He's talking to his Peter Parker, because the way they make it look, again, they make things look pretty awesome in trailers, but the way they make it looks like this is his introduction to this new world. So how would he know that Tom Holland is Peter Parker, or is Peter Parker at all, let alone the guy who is also Spider-Man? He wouldn't. He would know, though, that his Tobey Maguire Peter Parker, though, is Spider-Man. So unless Tom Holland is already in his spider suit, I'm pretty sure that was him talking to Tobey Maguire. So there you go. All right, back to the things at hand. That is all we have right now for trailers. Let's talk about news. We have a reboot for the Rocketeer. This one kind of came out of left field, I'm not going to lie. So the production staff behind this is David and Jessica. I'm going to mispronounce this last name and I apologize. But David and Jessica Oyelowo. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Please, somebody tell me how to say that because that's a cool last name. Anyway, and David is also said to be the one that is going to be cast in the starring role. It is going to be a Lego sequel. They are going to acknowledge the existence of the movie that came out in the 90s that really did poorly. And honestly, I mean, this sounds like a very interesting take and something that fits into this world. It sounds like they're going to do it as a period piece once again. So that all fits. I'm just genuinely interested to see where this goes. And now let's get a little reasonable one more time. This is not a property that a lot of people have really stuck their ground on, or choosing this to be the hill that they die on. I think this is a prime example of a way to reboot a dead franchise and do all of the things that we want to despise in quote unquote SJW content and still make it seem organic and legitimate and something that the fans can get behind, because nobody cares about the Rocketeer. If you can make the Rocketeer awesome and have a black dude playing him, by all means do it, because nobody's really cared about this character since probably, I mean, even when it came out in the 90s, it was kind of meh. So I hope this works out, because this is going to be a blueprint for how to successfully check all of those social justice boxes and also keep hardcore nerdy types engaged and loving the product that you're giving. Now, I know there's going to be some static, but so far it's very little, if any. So hoping that this goes well. Anyway, that is our little aside for that. Anyway, our next piece has to do with Alita Battle Angel. Robert Rodriguez has said very recently in an interview, you can find a link to it down in the show notes, that he's hoping that all of this work that he's doing for Disney is scoring him brownie points so that he can finally make this sequel to Alita Battle Angel. So the fire's still going in old Robert Rodriguez. So let's just hope that that continues to build, shall we? Our final movie piece has to do with the Expendables franchise. We are officially getting a fourth installment. We have the additions to the cast being 50 Cent, Tony Jaa, and Megan Fox. Tony Jaa, super martial artist, super excited about him getting this role. And also returning to the cast from previous movies, we have Stallone, Jason Statham, Dolph Lundgren, and Randy Couture. very likely we will get more confirmations of casting going forward, but so far that's what we've got. It is actually happening, and they are in early stages of pre-production, so that's kind of exciting if you like your action spectacles huge. Also, to be noted here is that Stallone has said that he is looking to get another R-rated action movie out of this one, so no more of that PG-13 nonsense that we got in the last one. That's all we got for the movie section, though, nerds. Rumor mill. Let's jump into it. All right, so no confirmations, no refutations. We're just hitting hard on the rumors. So coming out the gate swinging, our first rumor has to do with the MCU. We have the Illuminati in the rumor mill. Apparently, we are going to be introduced to the Illuminati in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Likelihood for this, I mean, the source is not the greatest, but it is kind of being reported by multiple places. I'm pretty sure, though, they're all using the same source, so I can't necessarily use the shotgun effect that we're getting here to mean anything other than the one guy talks to more than one person. It just seems super, I mean, it's possible. I just don't think multiverse is the, maybe it is. We're going to give it slightly above halfway there because I just talked myself into it. So 55% likelihood that this is a thing. Before we move into the next rumor, though, let's get a little reasonable real quick, reasonably nerdy, jumping into, all right, so I've heard, again, Comicsgate and Gamergate types saying, oh, it'd be cool if, and then they attach some sort of reference to the original source material. It would be cool if we got this source material thing or that source material thing. And now that we might be getting something, they're saying, oh wait, the Illuminati, those guys in real life are said to be child molesters. This is not real life. We're talking about comic book movies. Stop trying to poop on everything. I get it. There's a lot of garbage out there, and we need to be the ones to be there to sift through it and point out the flaws so that it can get better. Understood. But if this is a thing you've been asking for and you finally get it, don't turn it into something horrible. Okay, moving on. Next, we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett. We are now rumored to be getting another bounty hunter because Book of Boba Fett, it makes sense. We're going to see a few of them. This bounty hunter that's being rumored is Cad Bane. Cad Bane is said to be one of the many bounty hunters that we're going to be seeing in this series, though this rumor goes on to say that Cad Bane will be a significant part of this series. Sounds exciting. This one actually slightly better than the previous rumor because it does legitimately come from two different sources, so we can go a little higher. Neither of those sources, though, are great, so we're gonna go about 60% likelihood. It seems likely, but the source doesn't really mesh. Yeah, so staying in that vein, though, we are going to talk next about the Mandalorian video game. The Mandalorian video game supposedly has just leaked some footage of gameplay that honestly looks pretty freaking cool. If you want to believe it's actual footage and not just something somebody cooked up in their basement, because yeah, that is equally as likely if you're just looking at this trailer. So also, if you go through and you find some of the people who work for these companies that are in charge of these things, and you've seen them break it down and go, wow, that looks really good, but that's not anything we're doing, then you kind of start to realize, oh, this is somebody cooking up something in their basement. So honestly, the likelihood that this is a thing, probably pretty low. We're gonna put that at about 30%. I honestly, I kind of want to go higher, but that's just wishful thinking. I get there is reason to believe this is very fake leaked footage. Next, we are talking still more Mandalorian news. We have a rumor that season 3 of the Mandalorian series on Disney Plus is going to be the final season. Depending on which source, because this one does come from about 3 or 4 different sources. Depending on which source you hear it from, there is a number of reasons why this might be. The one I am more want to believe is that that's just the end of the story arc that Filoni and Favreau have put together. It's not the last time we're going to see Din Djarin. It's not the last time we're going to see Grogu. It's just the last time we're going to see them in this series. And then they're going to go off into the other things that they're working on for Disney Star Wars. That kind of makes sense. There are other things that say that Pedro Pascal is being a little more difficult this season to work with, in that because he's working for HBO doing their Last of Us series, and he's getting more money from HBO, and so he has to find the time to do the Disney work, which seems a little backwards to me. That doesn't seem to mesh well with what we know about how Disney works, but I mean, I don't know all of the details. I'm not behind the scenes. I'm just speculating here, so that one I'm less likely to believe. Either way, the likelihood that season 3 is the last for The Mandalorian, I think there's a strong possibility here. Being as some of this information that has been disseminated down comes from one of the actors, comes from Carl Weathers. So, I mean, he doesn't say specifically that season 3 is the end, but there's a little bit coming from him there too. So I'm going to put this right about 70%. I mean, there is still a bunch of wiggle room here, but it honestly would not surprise me if that does turn out to be the case. Our next rumor has to do with Harley Quinn. This is a long one. I've told you. This is a long episode, y'all. So our next rumor has to do with Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is reportedly getting an HBO Max series in live action, because we already know she's got the animated one, does well. Honestly, it's a pretty decent substitute for the Venture Brothers. If you're a big fan of Venture Brothers, definitely check out the Harley Quinn animated series, because they go hand in hand. It's a pretty good substitute for Venture now that Venture's no more. But or Venture, just rewatch Venture because it's on HBO Max now too. Anyway, so the rumor does go on to say that they do not know who is going to play Harley for the live action series, but they are saying that it is in fact in the works. So, likelihood that there is a live action Harley series and that it might not be played by Margot Robbie, that seems a little low to me there, nerds. I can't. What we know of producer types, what we know of the people in charge that don't have any faith in their audience whatsoever, this would do a lot to confuse the audience in their mind, right? Because they think that you can't have Batman on a TV show and then have a different Batman on the big screen in the movies, because people won't know which one's real, when really they're both fake. So you guys suck. Anyway, it just seems like it doesn't go with what we know of how the machine works. So for that reason, and honestly that reason alone, because it's a pretty decent source, but for that reason, I can't go above like 35%, and I feel like that's even a little high. Moving right along, we have a tech rumor, and we've got a bunch of rumors, y'all. A tech rumor for if you are a GoPro fan, if you have not yet bought your first GoPro and you're waiting for it to be an amazing one, this might be the rumor for you. GoPro Hero 10 Black is reportedly going to start using a brand new sensor, the what is it called? GP2 sensor. So it's a proprietary sensor, hence GP GoPro. GP2 sensor is going to be a 23 megapixel sensor and is going to allow for 5.3K at 60 frames per second, which is huge on video side. That requires a lot of processing power. That requires a lot of stuff. So hopefully, the source for this is a new source for me, so I haven't been able to test their track record just yet. So I'm going to give this about a 50%. It does seem to be in line with what we already know of the trajectory for GoPro, so no reason to not believe it. But again, new source, can't go above 50%. Our next rumor has to do with Cable in the MCU. Cable is supposedly going to be coming to the MCU in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or, depending on which version of this rumor you hear, Deadpool 3, which is early in production right now, so maybe? Anyway, so Cable, the most likely here, I think, is Doctor Strange. It's the one that's coming out the soonest. I don't think Cable will have any sort of major role here, but I do think there will be at least some sort of passing cameo, even a post-credit stinger that will reference or feature Josh Brolin's Cable. So, likelihood for this one, I'm going to put this one at about 65. That's a pretty conservative number, I feel like, but I honestly think that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is going to be huge for the MCU. Moving right along, we have gaming rumor, kind of. Apex Legends is now rumored to be getting a series over on Netflix. The rumor does not specify if it's going to be a live action or an animated series, though it does seem that Netflix want to do more towards the animation side of things. We've seen a bunch of their adaptations, most notably Castlevania, go that direction. So that kind of makes sense. They are trying to do the same similar push to Amazon. Amazon's trying to do that push into the Asian countries. So I'm sure Netflix is on a similar kick. So there's a lot here that kind of says, yeah, this makes a little bit of sense. We don't know where those rights have landed just yet. We do know that there are people trying to buy the movie and series rights to Apex Legends. So if Netflix is the one that has secured them in some way, that would do a lot to legitimizing this rumor, but as it stands, that has not happened. I'm going to put this one probably another 60% likelihood that we are going to see some sort of series on Netflix based around Apex Legends. Our final rumor, this is the big one, y'all. Our final rumor for this episode is one that's going to break my stinking little heart. Mortal Kombat is rumored to be getting a series over on HBO Max, an animated series. This is the second time we've talked about something Mortal Kombat going directly to HBO Max. This time it is specifically an animated series. It's coming from another source, so it's not the same source that said they're doing something. This source is being a little bit more specific, but the vocabulary is what's breaking my heart, because they say that the animated movies, Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge, and the new one, Defenders of the Realm, Battle of the Realms, listen to me, and the animated series. Anyway, Battle of the Realms are not owned by HBO Max, which is why HBO Max is trying to do an animated series. HBO Max is not an entity unto itself. HBO Max is a platform through which Warner Brothers disseminates its properties. It just so happens that it used a name that it owns that has a lot of brand visibility that is not directly related in the minds of the people to Warner Brothers. So therefore they could do different things. It's a long thing, but they own HBO Max, which means they can put whatever they want onto HBO Max, which is why these movies are going to HBO Max. So why? Because of that vocabulary, because of that broken nonsense vocabulary, I cannot for the life of me, even though I want this to be true so bad, I cannot give this much higher than 30%. I think that's even generous. 30% likelihood that we will be seeing an animated series in the next year or two, because again, eventually anything's possible. Long enough timeline, everything is possible. But in the near future, are we seeing a Mortal Kombat animated series on HBO Max? In the foreseeable future, are they going into early stages of production for such a thing? Probably not. And that is the end of the rumor mill, nerds. Also, the end of the episode. What did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down below. If though you want to go deeper in the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net, patreon.com/generallynerdy, or just, find me on the socials. Again, Generally Nerdy. Look for the Nerdy Ninja. That's me. And we can have the conversation a little deeper there. If you're falling behind in your nerd news and you want to catch up, you can click or tap one of the boxes that are showing up to the side of my face there. Do that. Check out the Clips show if you want to catch this episode in its smaller sections incrementally, then that is the place to go. Also linked to the side of my face. Thank you very much for showing up, nerds. We will see you in the next one. Before I go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.